Live from the Talking Joe studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. And welcome back to another live episode. This week, we will be talking about G.I. Joe, a real American hero, issue 324, which was released on Wednesday, January the 14th. We didn't cover the issue this time last week because 2 issues came out then, and we had to make a choice as to which one to cover. So if you are new to the show, you can find out all about us over at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website that points to all of the places we can be found. Now, this issue 324, was touted with the following synopsis. Battle beyond the stars. Lady Jaye and her team must stop an aerial assault from the Blue Ninjas before their new orbital station goes live. But did the issue deliver on the promise? We shall find out as we dig into it. And joining me to talk all about it, it's a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, and viewers and listeners. We have a guest, right?
We do. We got a special guest joining once again. He's got his own jingle, so let's play it. Peleteier on the art. Peleteier on the art. For this issue and for several more. There we go. Welcome back, Paul.
It's beautiful.
I think at this stage you may be actually the third co-presenter because it's nice to have a returning guest. It's a mark that we haven't necessarily offended you quite enough to keep you away.
Well, though you asked whether this latest issue delivered or not, and obviously you didn't review it last week, so I guess maybe it didn't deliver. So,
Mark, if we need to convince Paul to not come back, I'm ready to offend.
Okay, very good.
I've got the thick skin. You don't work in the industry for 35 years and not have thick skin. So
that's a good segue. Yeah. Do you have, without naming names or even maybe identifying aspects of projects, do you have now that time has passed, do you have a funny or educational story about something an editor said or a fan said or a publisher said that was impolite or that contributed to your thick skin?
I did Heroes Con last year, and there was a very nice G.I. Joe fan that was at the table when we were talking, and he was very complimentary. And he said something that actually made the people sitting next to me laugh, because it was meant as a compliment, but they took it differently. Because this great G.I. Joe fan said, "You're the hardest working backup artist in comics." I took it as a compliment because I've never been one of those upper tier lead guys on any project, so. But the guys sitting next to me they all busted up laughing. They thought it was so funny. It's like, well, hey, I'll take compliments anyways.
It is technically accurate because this book started with one artist who doesn't draw every issue, and you were not contacted at the beginning of this series. You were contacted after it started,
right?
And I think you've now drawn more issues, so backup artists can have sort of a sliding meaning here, but at the time of your joining the creative team, there was a guy drawing the book, and when he couldn't draw it, call in the backup artist.
I ran into the same thing back when I joined the Green Lantern team back in the 90s. Daryl Banks was the lead artist on the book, and he was having a hard time keeping up with the schedule, so I was brought in to do fill-in issues. In that span of time, I think I ended up doing equal to, if not more, issues than Daryl did. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why Ron Mars still bugs me about it to this day. It's like, why did you ever leave Green Lantern? I said, well, I was the backup guy. So when they offered me Superboy and the Ravers, hey, it's my own book. I'd be the lead guy on the book. So, I figured I'd take a shot with it. But hey, as long as I'm still working, backup lead, that it doesn't really matter. I just try to do the best I can with the project I'm on.
I think Larry Hama has noted on Facebook that if a fan says something like, "You're my third favorite Wolverine writer," that to that person might sound like a compliment, but to the person receiving it might sound like an insult, because maybe the way that you say that is, "You're my favorite Wolverine writer," or "You're one of my favorite Wolverine writers," and it comes across as, there are people whose work I like a lot more than yours, even if that's not counting, writers 4 through 100.
Well, and that's the whole thing too. There's so many people that work in the industry. So even if someone says it that way, you can kind of take it, hey, I'm in the top 3. So that's not too bad.
I think Hama gets it on almost sort of every single appearance he'll make, that someone will say like, "I loved your Marvel G.I. Joe issues," and he'll be like, I've written like more than 150 more since then. So,
people always have that emotional attachment to the stuff that they remember back in the day when they first started collecting. So that's understandable.
So we are live and we're getting in a few comments. So shout out to Stephen. Will we see Star Brigade in this issue? Maybe the Defiant with payload and a hardtop. Shane is watching. Yo, Talking Joe. Canadian survivalist. He's dedicated. We often get you in the chats with a salute there. Checkpoint Alpha, another regular viewer. Hey, Squishy OH. Sometimes you need to call in a pro to help out. And Greg Augustin G Unit. I did a tally of Mooneyhan and Peleteier on ARAH, and I think the number of issues they've done is even or just about.
Yeah, I think at this point I've got 13 total. So, and I know Chris had 1 or 2 maybe other fill-in artists help out. So, but he's got to be close to the same thing, probably 13 or 14 issues.
Maybe we shift the joke over, and if Mark or I start missing episodes of Talking Joe, Paul is the backup host, and then Paul's done more episodes than.
I don't know if that would be. I don't think that would be a good idea.
The pay is great, I got to say. I know that comics, drawing people and storytelling and weapons is hard.
Yeah.
Sitting in this chair and talking, maybe not as hard, but the pay far superior, surprisingly.
Do you necessarily need a working knowledge of G.I. Joe for this job?
Well, in theory, no, but it turns out the listeners expect it.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll keep drawing then. So.
When the show started out, the combination of co-host was meant to be an expert and an enthusiast who knew very little about it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So let's get into various bits of news. I'll start with a correction. Last time when we were talking about all of those new Cobras being introduced back into the lineup, we were thinking about when we last saw them. One of them was Firefly, and we thought that he might have appeared last in 250, falling off a bridge. I was reminded that he actually appeared in the miniseries Silent Option, which came out slightly after that. So there we go. That is that correction. This was posted onto social media. Tim, any guesses at what this particular image might represent, or Paul, if you don't know?
Oh, I know what it is. We'll let Tim try and guess, but I know exactly what it is.
Is this every page Paul is drawn? Very, very small?
Close.
Close.
Is this every page?
This is 500 pages of G.I. Joe in teeny tiny form, as coloured by colorist Francesco Segala, posted on the completion of this very issue 3 to 4.
That's fun. Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of making note of not just the writer, penciler, inker, and also the colorist, and also the letterer and yes. We always say things like Larry Hama's written so many issues of G.I. Joe. Or just now, right? Chris Mooneyham and Paul Peleteier are vying for most number of issues on this current G.I. Joe run. And that sure is a lot of pages. And that did include, didn't Segala do one or two of the silent missions?
Oh yeah, he might have done.
Issues, which if we were counting A Real American Hero, we might forget to include. And one of the things that I really like about comics editors in the last 20 years is they have figured out that people want consistency. And so rather than having someone draw a book and a fill-in artist shows up unexpectedly, or someone draws a book and someone who draws really differently draws a fill-in issue, oftentimes editors are lining up an artist who draws more similarly than dissimilarly. And particularly, like, color artists will stay on a book despite artistic changes, particularly in the middle of a story. And that does such a lot of good to keeping the momentum and not feeling like the book is falling into completely different hands. And in the 70s and 80s, because palettes were so limited and color artists tended not to have a lot of distinct approaches and palettes, sort of every comic kind of looked like every other comic in terms of coloring. And with the advent of Photoshop, that has really changed. And I very much appreciate when there are artists or even subtle changes, like it's a different inker for an issue or two. The colorist, it's sort of like you're seeing a movie and, like, again, it's now the analogy doesn't work. You're watching episodes of a series, and for 2 episodes, it's different actors playing the same characters, but it's the same sound effects editor and a musician doing the backing score, right? And it doesn't feel completely like a different show. Does that work?
Yeah, let's pretend it works. In Larry Hama news, Tim, Center Holds will be out soon. What have you got to say? Center Holds issue 2, in fact.
So issue 1 comes out in 3 weeks from the time of me saying this sentence aloud, and FOC for issue 2 is a couple weeks away. And I realized that FOC for issue 1 was earlier in the cycle than normal, I believe, because of the end of year Christmas and New Year's holiday. I think readers this may be invisible to readers, but for comic book stores and publishers, sometimes a lot of extra stuff happens in December because publishers are going to take a week off at the end of the month. Anyway, here we're seeing a cover for issue 2, drawn and colored by Joe Quinones, based on a Larry Hama sketch. And another cover for issue 2 drawn by Ray Anthony Height. And I can't wait.
Very good. And do reach out to your comic store if you haven't yet ordered issue number 1. It may not be too late that they might be able to still get a copy for you ahead of release of number 1. Big news just at time of recording. I think it was yesterday. We're seeing Cobra, the silent, a new silent missions set of stories. So last month we had Joe silent missions stories, 5 of them, and they're repeating that success with 5 more. So Baroness and Crimson Guard and Zartan and Copperhead and Firefly, and each one of those produced by a separate writer-artist team with some of the best in the biz. And I will be producing a separate episode on this to give a bit of an overview summary of those issues and a little bit of context about the creative teams. But it's very exciting. Five issues in April 2026 to look forward to.
I'll just say 3 quick things. 1, April must be the next month coming up, which has 5 Wednesdays. 2, presumably we will skip a regular Larry Hama issue of A Real American Hero, because that's what happened.
I don't think we are. I think we're getting.
Oh no! Good.
326. Is it 326? Out. Well, whichever the issue is also coming out that month. It's another Andrew Cronky issue.
Okay. And there's a great joke here in the title, because it's not called Silent Missions. It's called Silent Missions with 3 S's. I'm assuming when these 5 comics get collected in a softcover reprint, it'll be Silent Missions Volume 2. Because remember, when the Silent Missions collection came out, I noted that there was Volume 1 on the bottom of the spine. So I think this SSSILENT is for for the when they're printed as issues and not when they're printed in a collection. But anyway, this is very exciting news. Mark and I are always happy for more G.I. Joe comics and great G.I. Joe comics. There's a real hook here. And of course, I'm ready for a very busy month where we've got many extra episodes to do on particular comics.
And speaking of extra issues, let's find this next one here. Since we last spoke, there have been 2 Larry Hama editions of ARAH reprints announced. So the first one up was issue 24, which comes out in January, February, March, April, I think. This is the March one. This is being released in March, and as always with a great Chris Mooneyham cover. This one, you might look at it and think Sniper, is that Firefly? But it's actually Storm Shadow on the cover of this one with a sniper rifle in the tree, and you think Storm Shadow, sniper rifle. Well, the actual issue that's been reprinted here, issue number 24, has this sequence where Storm Shadow assembles a sniper rifle and climbs up a tree and has the Joes in his sights. So very accurate to the issue itself. And then just announced basically yesterday, was the next one up, which is the April issue out, 29th of April. This is issue number 14, which originally featured Destro on the front cover. And again, with a really fun Chris Mooneyham variant cover to tempt you into double dipping and buying this issue again, even if you've got it in 10 different other versions. So that is that. And then we had the reprint for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 1, which is sort of the reprint of the Hama edition. What did we call it? The Hama Cut, second printing. And we've seen most of the covers so far, but this one from Clayton Crane was the holdout, and now that one has been shared as well. And he also posted it on Facebook, his process video, which is great to see. Particularly in the days of AI and so much art being produced digitally, it's fun to see this process of him getting a big old board on his artboard, a big old bit of paper on his artboard, starting off blank and just filling it in, and the process that he follows to kind of block out all of the shapes and colors and get to the position where we've got that final cover, which I think has a little bit of digital tweaking at the very end, but still very much an analog process to get us to that point. So I think that has been up on his site. The news was shared on the Facebook group of Talking Joe, so the most comic breaking news does go up there. So it's probably been put up and sold out already, because typically it does sell out on the Clayton Grain website within minutes. But
Mark, when you say sell out, you mean the printed comic book, not the original art?
Yes, I'm talking about these are generally produced as variant comics with a limited release only via the Clayton Crane, I think .com website. So there's a couple of artists sort of playing in that space of producing their own variants and selling it through their website. And Mike Mayhew being the obvious other example, who's done quite a few of these covers for his own website. Right, next up, Rod Wiggum announced for Joe Fest 2026 in Augusta. Great to see him being announced as a guest, and he's been off the convention scene for a little while due to, I guess, having a daily grind of producing a cartoon. What are we calling them?
A newspaper strip.
A newspaper strip per day for the last who knows how long, which I think he's now retired from. 20 years? And also sort of feeling slightly safer in this post-COVID era to get away and attend one of these things. So great to have him there. He will be producing a variant cover for 325, and we've also seen a reveal of the Chris Mooneyham cover for 325, introducing 2 new members of G.I. Joe into the team, which is very cool to see. Hama making up, even to this day, making up new members of G.I. Joe, and this one being Downrange and RC, standing for radio control, I guess, as the new drone controller.
Mark,
guy.
just as over in the Energon universe episodes, you and I keep getting Road Pig and Roadblock mixed up because they're both being introduced around the same time. I look forward to reviewing future issues of A Real American Hero and getting Downrange and Long Range mixed up. But I'm very excited that there are new characters, and I'm very excited that Chris Mooneyham will be back for an issue, and that Paul Peleteier will need to get back on even sooner to keep their neck and neck tie and even number.
Well, I mean, I just signed a work agreement, and I've already got the script for 329, so that's when I'm supposed to come back on.
Oh, neat. Okay, yep. So that answers half of a question. Since it's been a month or two, Paul, since we spoke to you, can you give us a quick update, if you're allowed to, of what you're working on right now, or what you might be working on next?
I've got one more issue for a miniseries for Titan Comics called Mutant Year Zero, and I guess it's based on connected to a RPG, like tabletop role-playing game / video game. It's got a duck and a pig. It's so much fun. But now I've got one more issue of that, and then like I said, I've got the script for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero number 329 already, so I'll be jumping on that. I'll probably be doing some double duty for a couple weeks there, drawing both at the same time.
I think that's a scoop, folks. It's a real advantage to watching and listening to Talking Joe, because sometimes you'll learn who's drawing an upcoming issue of G.I. Joe before anyone else does. And
Paul's going to beat Chris at this competition that he might not realize he's in, about who's doing the most issues.
Well, and, I know. I mean, Chris is amazing. I mean, I think he kicks my butt all over the place, but he is a little bit slower than I am. So, I mean, I think that's the advantage I have, is I can crank out, a page a day pretty easily for the most part. So I think that's the big difference.
You heard it here first, folks. Paul Peleteier throwing down the gauntlet. He and Chris Mooneyham no longer friends, mortal enemies. One can draw fast. Who will win? Just got to keep listening to Talking Joe to find out. Also reading comics.
We've got a question here. Squishy, when will we get Paul on some of these silent issues. I hear sleep is overrated. I think that's the next challenge. Is there a silent missions idea that you would have under your sleeve, ready for next time that Alex asks?
No, I think the way he talked to me about it was some of the artists who can't keep up on a monthly basis will probably be put on more of the special issues, probably like Chris. And well, someone like myself would be on the monthly grind. So I don't think a silent issue would be in my future, but you never know.
It kind of makes sense in terms of the picking for the silent issues of like, if we're going to get just one issue out of someone, let's grab them for something where it makes sense that it's a kind of one and done to a degree.
Maybe that's a segue to a related question. Paul, have you written comics, or do you feel like with writers you have co-plotted, or do you have aspirations to write more comics or any in the first place?
I've never, well, I mean, I could go back to my black and white days back in the 1990. I did a little kind of co-writing and stuff, but I mean, it's just basically fresh out of high school, not knowing what I'm doing. So, but no, I've never really written a book, and I'm terrible with coming up with an initial idea, but I feel I'm pretty good at expanding on stuff. So that's why I have fun working with writers and maybe taking things in slightly different directions art-wise that they might not have thought of, or putting facial expressions or doing little character things here and there. But I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing penciling. So, so I'll leave the writing to people who know what they're doing. So
fair enough.
Very good. So I think that is us done with news, which segues into the issue that we'll be talking about today, issue 324, which is brought to us from pretty much regular team, Larry Hama, Paul Peleteier, inker Tony Kordos, colorist Francesco Segala, flatter Sabrina del Grosso, letterer Pat Brousseau, Alex Antone is editor, assistant editor, Caitlin Chappell, publication design, Jillian Crabb, and production design, Abigail Lee, with creative consultant, Diana Davis. Which leads us into the next bit of the show, where we look at the things, what they plop on the front of these books.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
Cover A of G.I. Joe 324 is penciled and inked by Andy Kubert and colored by Laura Martin. This is a really fun cover because it's unusual for a G.I. Joe cover. We see three Joes as astronauts in space over Earth. And we've only seen astronauts on G.I. Joe covers a very small handful of times. Mike Zeck's covered issue 65. Phil Gozier's covers to 146, 147, and 148. Someone on the internet did a side-by-side comparison of the Mike Zeck cover to issue 65 and this Kubert cover for 324, and they do feel of a piece. They do feel like they want to be next to each other, that they're a little bit in dialogue with each other. So here we see sci-fi, which is really fun because here's one of those characters who, in the realistic, grounded parts of G.I. Joe, doesn't fit, but to the extent that G.I. Joe has actually never been realistic, and he's some people's favorite character, and it's just a cool costume. It's great to see him. We haven't seen him very much. Sci-Fi is not actually an astronaut. He's a laser trooper, but if you squint, maybe you'd think he should be in space. And so now he is. Lady Jaye is front and center. Her costume is a variation on Payload's costume. So she's wearing a white astronaut suit. There isn't anything color coordinated to say it's Lady Jaye. It's not like it's green. She doesn't have her, I guess she does have her baseball cap.
Yep.
Yeah, she does have her baseball cap. I know in the issue she does, but on the cover, you have to sort of pay attention to note that she's wearing a
Well,
baseball
I think
cap.
it looks like she's got her little J patch on her across her collarbone, so you can tell it's her from that.
Yes,
Yeah, if in doubt, add a name tag.
She has a name tag. And then on the bottom, in a little bit of so all three Joes are unconscious and floating in space with the wreckage of some kind of space station and some smoke, making a strong diagonal across the cover. Maybe about a quarter of the background is Earth, and then the other 3/4 of it is black with stars, is Starfield or some of that smoke. And so this is unusual.
I believe the wreckage is actually the shuttle.
Aha.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Because you can see the numbers across the
Right.
and that's from the shuttle. So
all of them have their tethers, so they're in some danger, but it's unclear just how much. But this is an unusual cover because unless they're underwater, Joes are sort of always obeying gravity, right? They're always in a cockpit or on the ground or jumping or lunging. And you very, very rarely see them floating, and you very rarely see them floating in these kinds of poses where they're in danger and they're unable to defend themselves. They're completely defenseless here. And there's some really great foreshortening on Lady Jaye's pose because Kubert can draw anatomy so well. And there's a tiny bit of color coordinating, I guess, because Payload's got some orange on some of the textures of his sleeve. And then Lady Jaye, sort of where that texture is on her sleeve, is blue. This is a really fun and unusual cover. And also there's some battle damage. Kubert's been drawing Joes a couple times recently where if their clothing is torn, you see some armor underneath it that has a bit of a grid pattern. We can see that sort of Lady Jaye's like rib cage, and then Payload's, I guess his tricep. Very cool cover, very unusual, and it asks a question, which is what's going to happen to these Joes? And you'd better buy the issue to find out. Cover B is black and white, just Kubert's inks. The smoke makes a much stronger presence in that diagonal, as does Earth, right? With the colors, Earth is knocked back a little bit and the smoke is knocked back a lot, but it's still quite lovely. Cover C.
And with just the inks, it's hard to see the little space station way back on the right side of the cover. Oh wait, no, that's not a space shape. That's his signature. Oh, geez.
Cover C is this is painted by Steve Beach. This is one of these Gears of War themed covers where it's a character and a vehicle.
Gears of Joe.
Right, excuse me. Gears of Joe, where it's a G.I. Joe character or Cobra character and a vehicle. This one is Shipwreck and Polly and the Devilfish. There's just two big bold colors here. It's just this bright middle blue and then this bright orange. The Devilfish looks nicely weathered, right? It's got some dirt and some age to it. And Shipwreck's got a great expression on his face.
There's one thing I would do to improve that cover even better than what it is. I would have put a dome on top of the boat and then put him out in space just to match the other covers. So,
indeed, this is a 1 in 10 retailer. A 1 in 10 ratio variant. Your comic book store has to order at least 10 copies in any combination of A and B to be able to order this. And then, are there any retailer exclusives, Mark?
We have 2 this month. The first up is Jonathan Knight variant, which is available via Big Clutch. So this is who's this character? I forget.
Why are there so many covers of Baroness?
But it looks very interesting in this very sort of different painterly style of Baroness. So it sort of feels, you can almost feel like you can reach out and touch the coarseness of the paint on the board. And interestingly, on his Instagram, Jonathan Knight had shared some, I think, just pieces that he did for fun or as a commissions of G.I. Joe, of the Baroness and of Scarlet, where he had painted onto some blank cover variants of G.I. Joe. So given how small those are, he's sort of putting in a lot of detail there, actually. So quite a cool cover, even if it is another cover of Baroness.
And she's not in the issue.
And she's not in the issue. So that is the Jonathan Knight, and
wait a second now. The what's his name in the boat wasn't in the issue either. So there you go.
That's true. Yeah. There's fewer pin-up issues of Shipwreck, though, to be fair. And so we have a set of 2 covers from Cedric Poula. I think this is his maybe 4th, actually maybe 5th G.I. Joe cover that he's done since the Skybound relaunch, sort of a Virgin variant and a foil from 616 Comics. And he actually produced an interesting little story that he put onto his Instagram, sort of talking about the process for this one, which he just what did he say? In-depth process, added proved art and collectibles. I did what I could with references I had. Her design naturally made them pop. So how was I supposed to deal with those things? Answer here. I wonder if J.S. Campbell had the same kind of trouble when he did that famous Riri Williams pick years ago. Was he aware that she was a teen? Overall, I would say make your teen characters drawn by artists that know how to make them. It would be easier for everyone to identify them as such and avoid lots of troubles. So I think there was a little bit of extra reworking of his images in the process of drawing this one due to the level of boobacity involved in his drawing of Dawn here, who's relatively young. I think in the story she's sort of graduated from school, has been through military training, so I'm assuming that she's sort of over 18 in the story nowadays. So not a child, but aged up a little bit in this story. So he talks about his process of creating this particular one here. That in his first rough, he's using as his main reference the Bushido statue. So he's given her blue eyes and wears a black and pink outfit with very shiny latex, and he isn't sure of the age of the character there. And so some of the main images he saw or used were the annual cover, the yearbook cover, and this Bushido statue, which you can see there's a lot of influence that has made its way into his art interpretation of the cover in terms of the pose and the chesticles involved. And so what does he say next? Cleaner stuff. Initially, she's got 3 swords, which is making less sense. So he's checking on the swords, and then he's moving to doing some line work to tidy up his image before sort of going into the detail. He's got his initial design, which is missing the sort of the clarity of that Arashikage symbol, which is then added into this version, and he's being given some feedback, less boobs, red instead of pink, and brown eyes. So he's sort of trying to figure out how best to treat that. And in his words, shrink those boobies. It's not as easily as it seems. I was also asked to review the rib cage and overall body size. I tried to reduce it by having less mass and definition. More work in progress here. I have to rebuild the belts, some parts of the costumes each time. Some details are skipped. fixed shin guards, Arashikai's symbol, katanas. And this version, he's got the symbol sort of resting on the top, putting the box with the symbol on the boobs, which really helps. But I have to fake the placement and moving the katanas for readability. So I think this is where we ended up in the end with the final treatment. So there we go. The processes and dilemmas of an artist working with this particular character. Figuring out, coming to it, I guess, fresh, not knowing the character and some of the background and the history, and also coming at it as an artist known for drawing sort of a very voluptuous, sexualized designs, and trying to interpret that for, I guess, a younger character on an adventure book, let's say. Good reference is essential, says Shane.
No, that's not true. Seriously, I mean, most of the stuff I do comes out of my head. So I mean, it's you need a good imagination. That's all you need.
but if you are if you're expected to draw a character accurately, and they have an established character, isn't that a different category that suggests or demands good reference?
Just for costume.
Yeah.
Not for like posing and all that kind of stuff.
I think we're keeping this here to costume. Good reference is essential for costume.
But at the same time, I mean, after drawing 13 issues, I'll look back at reference through older comics or newer ones and how often costumes change. Different interpretations from different artists. So at a certain point, as long as you're not straying too far from the character, you kind of have your own take on it a little bit. So, yeah. But I guess that's the advantage of drawing characters over and over again in the book versus doing variant covers where you're only drawing the character like once or twice. So I guess that's the advantage I would have actually drawing the stories.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Dawn here probably just suffers a little bit from search engine optimization, that those kind of Bushido images are the ones that pop up first, and the kind of I guess more nuanced storytelling from the interior of the issues doesn't pop up in those Google searches in quite the same sort of way.
For any artists who hear this, if you need to draw Dawn, Google Larry Hama Dawn Marino G.I. Joe cover, because he drew the original sketch. He was the one who designed her costume, and you can find that image out there.
Yes, indeed. So we're into G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, 3 to 4, into the inside of the book. And from here on out, we will be getting spoilery. So if you've not yet read this particular issue, feel free to pause, get hold of your issue, read it, and then come back so that we're not spoiling things for you. And let's do the big spoilers with a summary in a plot breakdown. After Ace identifies a suspicious space station, the Defiant shuttle is launched to investigate, carrying a team of Payload, Sci-Fi, and Lady Jaye. As the space vehicle nears, it comes under laser fire from the station, operated by Revanche. After a skirmish with Revanche's Beta 103, the Joes destroy the space station and head back home, unaware that left behind them was another Terradrome's control satellite hidden by cloaking technology. And that's where we leave it. A month's worth of work boiled down into less than 60 seconds, Paul.
I would like to start with a question rather than my top down reaction to this issue. A question for both of you. And Mark, we haven't used the error detected jingle in a long time. Do you have that handy? So my question is,
why am I drawing the book?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm very happy you're drawing the book.
Well, when you bring up errors and stuff, more than likely it's my fault.
This would not be if an error. This would not be a Paul Peleteier error. My question for both of you is page 10 wordless, or is it missing all of its dialogue? And it might be a problem that I can't tell.
Well, it is wordless. It doesn't have dialogue.
What I meant to say is it meant to be wordless, or did it print without any word balloons?
Hold on, I might have the script. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay, so Mark, let me pass the mic back to you and ask: when you read this issue, did you hit page 10 and it jump out to you, or did you just keep reading and it was okay?
I did keep reading and thought it was okay, and it didn't jump out to me that there was necessarily something jarring there. Particularly it being Hama, we're used to seeing wordless pages from time to time, and I thought possibly this is the shuttle. This is the first page that we've seen it sort of out of the atmosphere and into space. And, as we know, in space, no one can hear your dialogue. So it makes some kind of sense to me that it's a way of emphasizing. I thought maybe it's a way of emphasizing that the Joes are now in space, and we're in that sort of vacuum of space without hearing dialogue and that sort of being emphasized.
Paul, before you chime in, Squishy O says, space is a quiet place, not shocked that there's less dialogue. Paul, before you jump in, possibly with the answer, I just want to point out that the reason why it jumped out at me as possibly a mistake is that Hama's characters is that there are no other pages in this issue that are wordless. And Hama's characters are often saying what they're doing as a way to add detail for the experience. So, just a few pages earlier, it's like I can tell that Law is directing the Defiant out of the hangar and into the right space. But he specifically says to his dog, I have to help Hardtop get his launcher squared away. And then Hardtop says, guide me straight, Law. We need to be precisely on the launch quadrant. And then I get to page 10, and I thought, this sort of feels like it wants someone to say something like, space drone disengaged from the main shuttle. Like, all right, we'll get back to you. This is now panel 2. I'm writing the dialogue, folks. Right. Panel 2. We'll get back to you soon, Ace. And then panel 3, coming up on the space station. And then panel 4, even though no one's mouth is drawn as open, which is often a hint that there is dialogue, it's not conclusive. And then the final panel, something like Payload is saying to Sci-Fi and Lady J, okay, you two get suited up. We're going to go out there. So, Paul, have you an answer?
My computer is very slow, and I'm trying to open it. I thought I had a printed copy of the plot, but I'm trying to open the document right now. So
the other reason
I don't remember it being a silent.
Okay.
Let's see.
The other reason why I think that there is intended to be word balloons on this page is that the things that are happening here are they're clear without dialogue, but they don't feel like very specific punctuated moments. It's not like it's a close-up of someone's finger on a button that says engage. It's not like you see a close-up of like a docking clamp disengaging for one of these spaceships to leave the other. This feels like, just sort of some normal business is happening, not like, okay, I know it. The page doesn't feel special. And I feel like if it was going to be wordless, it would have been special. I mean, in terms of story, I don't mean in terms of art or storytelling. I mean, in terms of story.
It's been, geez, it's going to be what, 4+ months since I've drawn the book. I just opened up the script, and I just realized that Larry actually didn't write all the dialogue in the script. So I don't see any indication of what kind of dialogue there would be.
Are you saying that the script you have is like an incomplete version, or there was a second pass later with more dialogue?
No, I think it's basically just a plot where
Okay, you have the plot, not the final dialogue script. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
I
So he's
would
describing
Just
in the plot, he's describing what's happening, and there is some suggestion of dialogue, but it's not the page by page, panel by panel dialogue script.
Right.
Yeah, just to put a pin in that idea, that I guess the way that Larry writes is that it's a sort of a shortened Marvel style plot initially, that which is for the kind of the tool for the artist to work from, and then once the pages have been produced, he'll then do a sort of second version of that script, which details the panel by panel word balloons for the for the letterer to then work from. So. Yeah, I guess the thing that you're paying the most attention to, Paul, is the thing that you're working from, which is that initial plot version.
Right. Yeah, it's so. I'm actually kind of surprised, because if I remember correctly, some of the earlier issues, maybe it's because we had done enough issues together that he didn't feel the need to write in all the dialogue. But I seem to remember dialogue being written in some of the earlier plots that we had done. So. But you know what? Maybe it was because I never saw. Geez, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember seeing a before print digital copy of the book.
Yeah, they will.
So,
usually, the editor or the assistant editor or the production person will send like the final PDF to everyone. It's like, this is what we sent to the printer, everyone.
So I'm guessing, especially with someone like Diana probably looking over this, that this is probably intended that way. Okay. But it would be a pretty big mistake if they forgot to include the dialogue on a printed page. But that's a very good question, though.
All right. So now that I've zoomed in on this one thing, which may not be a thing at all, or may be a giant thing, I can hand the mic back to Mark. Mark, what's your overall take on this issue? What's your top-down reaction?
My top-down reaction was probably a little bit of disappointment that I was looking forward to a different sort of story because of the previous issue. That we'd had this set up with all of these great Cobra characters that we've not seen for a little while. And that sort of, introduced a sense of anticipation for what that story potential could be. And so we've not really kind of followed on that, that idea quite so directly. And we've gone with this space story instead. So for me, it was probably a slight bit of, I wanted to see what Firefly was doing. I wanted to see what Overkill would be doing as a story theme, rather than sort of going to this other place. And I guess generally I'm like the more literal grounded stories. So sort of space as a scenario is slightly less appealing to me. But I can imagine, some fans' favorite bits of G.I. Joe are very varied and diversified. So for some people, it might be, oh man, I had the Defiant as a toy. They're putting it in the comic, and we hardly ever get to see that. This is now my favorite issue because I love that thing so much, and we never get to see Sci-Fi doing some cool spacey things. And here he's doing cool spacey things, and he's one of my favorite characters. He was one of the first ones I bought when I was a boy. All of that kind of thing. So I think it's definitely. People's mileage will vary depending on which bits of G.I. Joe are their favorites. So that's probably my high level was probably like a little bit like, it's another nice solid G.I. Joe adventure, but maybe not the one that I immediately wanted to see after last issue.
Okay, and then before I answer, Paul, you've drawn space stuff like Negation and Green Lantern. This issue is different than other issues you've drawn, although in some ways it's got all the challenges of drawing G.I. Joe. So, Paul, how did you feel when you got this plot, and how did you feel as you drew the issue?
Well, these last 3 issues I drew, I'm almost wondering, I don't know if Alex got in touch with Larry about drawing 3 writing issues that were very different from each other, because I know that we're starting to run into deadline issues. So I'm wondering if Alex was thinking it'd be a lot easier to hand 3 completely different issues off to fill-in artists if we need them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened that I was able to come in and do the 3 issues, because each issue were completely different from the other one. So it definitely is a challenge. Anytime I have to draw any kind of tech, and like something with negation, it's just made up sci-fi, so that's fun. But there's got to be a little bit of quote unquote reality with like the space shuttle here, and at least trying to draw like toy accurate vehicles, and just try to be a little more rooted to some semblance of reality drawing this text. So I always find that very challenging. But I mean, it was a nice change of pace, not being an Earth-based story. So it was kind of fun doing something a little different.
And then just a reminder, since you just said that these 3 issues you just did were all very different from each other. The first one was half snow, half desert.
Yep.
The second one was all these Cobra characters.
Yep.
Inside, and then this one was space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So to answer my own question,
and
Mark,
there is to talk to Paul's point as well about there being quite different and sort of fairly standalone issues. There is kind of that common thread, the kind of overarching plot that's being sort of threaded through, which is about this threat of the terradromes. Which has kind of been playing out through the last few issues. So there is this ongoing plot and sort of threat of these terradromes popping up, and what are they there for? How are they being controlled? All that kind of stuff.
To answer my own question myself, I will say I was, like Mark, a little disappointed by the issue. I was expecting one more thing to happen, or one more character to show up, or there to be one more surprise. And I do like the surprise that happens on the last issue. I do like how many Joes and vehicles Hama crammed into this that Paul had to draw, right? Even on page 1, right? We get to see the Sky Raven, which every time I say this, I'm proven wrong, right? We definitely haven't seen Firefly since issue like 18. I don't think we've ever seen the Sky Raven, right? Like not even in Devil's Due. I'm totally wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong, but I can't think of when we've seen the Sky Raven. I don't. Did Sky Patrol even show up in the Devil's Due run anyway? We've either never really seen the Sky Raven, or never seen the Sky Raven, or kind of only barely seen it once. Anyway, so I like what is here. I found the actual story a little straightforward. Like there's a thing, let's go up, let's do it. And the peril that I see the Joes in on the cover is much greater than the peril that they're in when that scene happens. And I love it when a scene is exaggerated for the cover, because that's all the comics that I saw when I was first getting into comics. That's what covers are for. It's not just the Baroness standing there sexy, or Batman like swooping through the city with a big cape.
Batman standing there sexy. Come on.
If only, right? And
that's Nightwing's job.
Very true.
And it's fun to see a little mixing and matching, Lady Jaye in a Joe costume, but not her costume. Although I would love it if it was green, just so that it sort of alludes to her costume. But in terms of them going up, and I like the little bit of business about launching, and then there's sort of 2 teams, and there's the main module, and then there's the shuttle itself. Part of this is that fighting a blue ninja up in space isn't as exciting to me as fighting a specific Cobra, whether it's a one-of-a-kind person like in Major Blood, or some Vipers, because Mark and I have talked about this, where when the blue ninjas were first introduced, they were almost impossible to stop, and then the Joes sort of got better at it, but the Joes didn't like particularly increase the potency of their weapons or their attacks. It just feels like, well, we've done a story or two where there's an unstoppable killing machine and a Joe gets injured. And just from now on, there's this like leveling of the field where the Joes just sort of know how to deal with the Blue Ninjas. And in terms of like storytelling number of panels, they're as easy to stop as like a regular Cobra or like a cyborg Cobra. And in terms of the sort of the potential of space and zero G, I think I wanted one more thing to happen where, like someone is squeezy or someone is dealing with like a thing that's floating in the way, like sci-fi can't fire because there's like the container of food opened and there's, like a million popcorn pieces or something. These two were not good examples, but
I think you're thinking of a Simpsons episode.
No. I think I wanted 15% sort of more things in the way, like not just we got to the satellite and there was a Blue Ninja, but it's like, oh, well, the docking clamp isn't connecting, so we're going to have to do a spacewalk to get there. Or, Ace's intelligence said 1 Blue Ninja. Oh, gosh, there's 10 Blue Ninjas. I wanted one more thing to happen. I do think that Hama is on a better track with Alpha 001 and the Blue Ninjas during the Skybound run than he was on the IDW run. They're still not my favorite. But all that said, so I'm a little disappointed because the cover is more exciting than the issue and the issue was good. All of that said, something that I like about this issue is that in the way that it's self-contained that both of you have referred to, it feels sort of like a Marvel issue in 86, 87, or 88, where the Marvel team is running behind schedule and maybe not the issue that we thought was going to get published gets published. And that might be because Hasbro has a toy that needs to come out at a certain time because those are the TV ads that have already been booked. And this is not how the brand works in 2026. But there were times in the 80s where, a bunch of stuff is happening. And then there's an issue where we're not referring to anything that happened and it's this self-contained story. And so this does feel a little bit like sort of those challenges again, which might just be a way of, like putting a smile on like a frowny situation, like, oh, we're behind schedule. So.
I'm willing to bet if you would have gotten more of that tension stuff, if it would have been like a 2-issue storyline. And that's why for me, it feels more like it was done more as a fill-in in case they needed another artist to come in and, just pick something up that didn't have to worry about what happened in the last issue or what's going to happen in the next issue. It feels that way where it's a self-contained thing where a fill-in artist could come in and pick it up real quick.
I agree with you. I do feel like in the history of Larry Hama G.I. Joe comics, there have been many excellent 22-page self-contained stories, whether drawn by a regular artist or a fill-in artist. And in the era when comics are a little shorter now, they're 20 pages, not 22. There have been some really good self-contained issues. And this was 20 pages. And I think separate from a 2-parter offers a bigger canvas. I think this lacked 1 or 2 elements that would have sort of packed it denser within the confines of a single issue.
We needed the space boat. Shipwreck in his space boat. That's what we needed.
See, wasted not writing these things as well, Paul.
Paul, do you have a printed copy yet?
I do.
When we spoke to you last, you made a comment that something about the printing seemed to have diminished inker Anthony Kordos's sort of thinnest lines. Right. And we pointed to some inking on some cheeks and some noses, but I think we were referring to all of his thin lines.
Right.
And you said, maybe I should ask about that. And I had noticed it all along and sort of didn't register it as a problem, just as a thing. Maybe the word is artifact. And I think I'm noticing on this issue that those thin lines are printing sort of fully.
Yeah, it's a little better. Yep.
Okay, it's there. You heard it, folks. Paul Peleteier. It's a little better.
A little better.
Okay.
As someone who works in comics, I'll very rarely will I see the finished printed product and think that's exactly what I was hoping for. But yeah, this one looks like it printed a little better than the previous issue did.
I was going to talk to a little bit to the point that Tim was talking about in terms of the historically when G.I. Joe was being published at Marvel, it was telling the story, but was also acting as this promotional tool and sort of tapping into the zeitgeist of what were the toys on the shelves and sort of finding a way of introducing those into the plot. And it felt a little bit like a return to that, but 40 years on, in terms of promoting toys that came out many decades again. And we talked about the Sky Raven, which is this sort of silver version, Sky Patrol version of the Night Raven toy, which I think Tim is right that hasn't ever appeared in the comics before. But more than that, sort of really being this spotlight for this mad vehicle that came out in 1987, which is the Defiant Space Vehicle Launch Complex. Which let me add this into the
which
stay
is so big and
3D.
expensive.
I think the most expensive toy ever to be produced, I've heard some people say, well, certainly the most expensive G.I. Joe one, which has got it's massive, it's fragile, it's made up of these different pieces, and the story and the art really seem to sort of just shine a spotlight, almost like an advertisement for this toy, because you've got like the ground crawler, which is sort of being driven by the right driver, hardtop. You've got Law sort of doing the ushering it in with his dog. So Law's doing the sort of directions, orders, giving moral support, and barks. They tried it the other way. It didn't work. And then as it launches out, you've got the complex. What do they call it? The space vehicle and the booster space station as these separate components, and you can see it in the 3D Joe's art here that extra shuttle, as a separate component is the main shuttle to be used in space, and it's got this arm, and you were able to make use of the arm and some of the other bits and pieces of the vehicle in the plot itself. So it felt like a very toyetic story, sort of really leaning into the design components of the vehicle itself. Maybe Paul, you could talk to that a bit about how you used, I guess, the design and sort of working with that in terms of your approach to the art.
Oh yeah, well, this is one of those times where when I got the script, they also had a folder full of reference as far as like the toy designs, toy box art, like some of the stuff you have on screen right now. I think I had still shots of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was important to have when drawing these sequences, because otherwise I would have been like, I would have made something up and it wouldn't look anything like what it should. But yeah, this is one of those cases where reference was important.
One more comment on how unusual this toy was. For up until then, and for several more years, this was the only G.I. Joe vehicle to come with not one figure, but two. Mm. And even to this day, that's really unusual for G.I. Joe. I wanted to, so I like this point that Mark's making where, Larry Hama is well aware that, so he's writing story and he's dealing with character. Hama also likes gear, so he wants the characters to have their stuff and to use their stuff, and it's military, so that's tanks and missiles and jets and guns, and then also swords. And Hama's also well aware that this is a toy, was a toy, and that all the readers want the toys to get shown off. And so, particularly in this Skybound run, Hama seems to, and I think we've had it confirmed by Diana Davis on this show, that Hama will look over one of these books or websites that has lists or images of every G.I. Joe toy and pick ones out that fit a story. Arctic mission, underwater mission, desert mission, space mission. And what I like is that in some cases, things are getting repurposed. I never had the Sky Raven, although I did have the Night Raven. I don't think the Sky Raven in any of its packaging specs refers to space. I think it's just, the silver chrome on the outside of that jet is so that it's invisible to radar. And that's what the ad says. That's what the TV ad says. But, if you squint, why not?
Well, I think maybe I goofed up in the artwork. I think initially, at least on that first page, I think it was meant more as a super high altitude. They're not quite in space, but like super high altitude.
Okay.
And I think that's what it was intended for.
I will allow some latitude on this, that it's not a mistake, because I think we're used to like images from movies and TV more than like photos from science. And,
right.
The higher up you get, the thinner the atmosphere is. And, there's at a certain point, you are drawing like a black star field with white, a black sky with white stars. At a certain point, you're drawing like a horizon line and the curvature of the Earth with like green and blue under it. But there's a great variety between where you have some clouds or you have some blue that's becoming, outer space. So yes, maybe I'm slightly misidentifying it and it's not intended to be in space, but thematically it relates the same way that, sci-fi is not an astronaut. He's a G.I. Joe laser trooper. But here, I'd rather it be him than Shipwreck. Although, folks, I'm always rooting for, the guys who joined Star Brigade later on, like Roadblock and Duke and
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Yeah, right. As much as I would love this version of Sci-Fi's costume to show up in this comic, because now he really is in Star Brigade, this version is, I just have to assume, fewer people's favorite version of Sci-Fi, right? People want the green costume with the RoboCop helmet. And I bet a bunch of people, if you put this character design in front of them and said, who is this? They'd say, yeah, because it's, he came out in the final year of G.I. Joe and the toys weren't, people were not paying as much attention to the toys. And there's nothing about this costume that sort of refers back to his first costume. Anyway.
I have to admit
that was the funny thing when drawing this issue, when I had to draw Sci-Fi, I'm like, do I draw his helmet underneath a space helmet? Or do I just add a faceplate to his helmet? Covering up it. And that's what I ended up doing, because it's like, do I want to draw the helmet underneath the helmet?
Now, Mark, the classified version of the Sci-Fi action figure, which came out, is it last year or the year before, has two heads, right? One, you can see his nose and mouth and cheeks, and then he just has this black sort of visor across his eyes. And then the other version, that entire space, the visor, the nose, the mouth, is like shiny black.
Okay.
So in my mind, as I saw this scene, I thought, well, I want to see his face because I want to see him act. And I want to see his face because that's the 1986 action figure my brother had. But, objection, Your Honor, overruled. I'll allow it because, the action figure from last year, he's like firing lasers and he should probably protect himself. Like, no, he's got his whole face is covered, even if that's not the one that got drawn in this issue. I would like to make two coloring requests, comments. This is not error detected. This is just me pointing something out, and with my magic wand to make something a little clearer, I would. on page 14. Mark, do you have page 14?
Is that the one on the screen at the moment?
Let me go 11, 12, 13, 14. It is. Okay. On page 14, part of my reaction to this issue being good, but not my favorite issue, is it that Lady Jaye is wearing her baseball cap in her spacesuit?
No, I thought is that the first best thing or just the second best thing?
I thought that was silly, but I allowed it because it's G.I. Joe, and I want the characters to. I mean, I'm an animation guy. To me, Lady Jaye does not wear a baseball cap. For people who love her toy and her toy packaging and the way that Michael Golden drew her on the yearbook 2 inside back cover, she absolutely has to have her baseball cap. That's and then Michael Golden came back and did it for the cover of 117. That is not important to me. But
hey, I was following Kubert's lead on the cover, so
right.
Okay.
But I know that people want it, and it's funny. So even though it doesn't quite make sense, I thought, well, that's fun. The thing that I would like to change slightly on this page, and I think this and the other thing slightly added to my, I don't want to say confusion, but confusion. The second panel here, there's this robot arm, and it is clear to me that it is coming from the G.I. Joe shuttle and heading towards the Blue Ninja, the Revenge space station. Right. I see the antenna because they'd said like, oh, it's got all these antennae on it.
Yeah, the space station should have been colored differently so it's separated from.
Yes. Yeah. And I love Francesco Segala's work on this series. It always looks good. There's but since Segala will do these subtle shifts where like the whites in one scene are a little yellow and the whites in another scene are a little brown or beige and the whites in another scene are a little orange or a little blue, a little violet. The sort of top 2/3 of this panel and the bottom third of it, the Joe tech and the Revenge tech are colored the same. And if they were separated a little bit, if the like robot arm and the Joe space shuttle was like a tiny bit purple, or the Revenge satellite on the bottom was a tiny bit yellow, my brain would say, oh yeah, those are definitely separate. And when I read this, I had to like look at that panel for a moment. And then the other one on the next page 15, panel 1. So I think what's happening here is the Blue Ninja is popping up out of a hatch and is sort of like in outer space now, that we're not in a hallway. And Paul and Anthony Kordos's speed lines all around the Blue Ninja on the first panel are black, and all the space between them is white. And I think this would have been a nice place for either inker Kordos or colorist Segala to lasso that background, not the piece of debris, not the lightsaber, but sort of everything around that hatch where the speed lines are, and invert them so that the black lines become white and the white space becomes black. And it's like, oh, he's popping up into space, because then she shoots him back into the right. Huh? I think
Tim, you're getting a bit confused in your reading of this particular sequence. So if we flick back to the previous page, the shuttle is coming in. It's got its gripper arm. The gripper arm rips the side off the shuttle, exposing the Revenge robot at a console controller thing, illuminated in green.
Yeah, and that's the same console that you see in panel 1 on the next page.
And then the Joes are floating just outside the shuttle on the bottom half of this panel. And then as we turn the page, we sort of flip direction to look back at the console, and the Revenge robot sort of stepping away from the console, turning on his not a lightsaber and coming at Lady Jaye. And then Lady Jaye is shooting from that hole that they made just on the outside, shooting through that sort of corridor thing, and pinning the Revenge robot, Revenge android, against the wall with her power javelin bolt. Possibly, maybe the color might be part of the confusion here. That you sort of on the previous page, you've got the green for that interior, and we're not necessarily being consistent with that on then the next page. But I can't say I had any confusion about reading that sequence.
All right. Well, I stand corrected on this second comment. You are both absolutely correct. The Blue Ninja is not popping out into space. We're still inside, and that is that console that we saw the Blue Ninja standing in front of on page 14. So thank you for that. I am incorrect.
It's. I mean, it was a pretty complicated little scene to put together, and I don't fault Francesco for any issues, because I mean it was kind of tough to keep track of who was where and what was going on. So
is it also possible, Paul, that pages are getting inked and colored in batches or out of order?
No, Tony is usually pretty good at turning in inks, sequentially.
Okay.
But I think there are times where I'll get like batches of colored pages, and sometimes some colorists will send in a page at a time, which is great because it's a lot easier to concentrate on one at a time. But when I get like 10 pages all together, it's like I'm trying to pencil, and at the same time I got to try and go over some of the colors. And if I start getting like 10 or 12 pages at a time, it's like, yeah, it's fine. So which is not good, because I should pay attention to that a little more.
Paul, are you describing a step where you get to comment on colors, or at least look for errors?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, generally, for the most part, I try to just leave the colorist, because that's their job. I mean, I wouldn't want a colorist to when I turn in pencil pages, it would be weird if the colorist came in and said, "Hey, I think you should draw this a little differently." So I try to keep my comments for colorists. Tap. I try to keep my comments for colorists pretty minimal.
Right.
So, because I mean, for the most part, I mean, most colorists know what they're doing more so than I know what they're doing. But unless it's something egregious, I try to let them do what they do.
Mark, can you put that comment from Greg Augustin back on screen? That was fun.
Yeah.
Fun fact. The Space Shuttle's robotic arm is officially named the Shuttle Remote Manipulator System, SRMS, commonly known as the Canadarm, provided by the Canadian Space Agency.
And we've also now got Diana Davis joining the chat. So hi to Diana. I was wanting to call out her official title, but I'm struggling to. Creative consultant. Creative consultant Diana Davis, who is wading in. So, what did Tim? So the question here is: did Tim for that page? Was it number
page 10?
10. Did this page?
No dialogue page.
Have no dialogue as intended. And is Tim acting like a 7-year-old child from 1984, writing into the pages of Real American Hero, complaining that his issue 21 was missing all of the dialogue, or was it a genuine issue with the letters being missing? And Diana weighs in with the definitive answer.
He wants his no prize.
And Diana confirms, actually, this is what the script said. Panel 1.1, countdown, electric from booster. Shuttle Defiance has successfully disengaged from booster. 2, payload, electric from shuttle. We are clear and preparing to power up. 2.3 countdown. I'm heading back to the pit. Good luck on your mission. So that's him heading the main shuttle, heading back. 4, payload, electric from shuttle. Thanks for the lift. Countdown, payload. We've got visual on the space station.
So electric means that it's not in a normal oval word balloon, that it's got jagged lines because it's
like radio.
Coming from a radio or a speaker. So I will.
Lady Jaye, unstrap, seat your weapon and your MMU backpacks with the caption "Manned Maneuvering Unit." And Lady Jaye, getting into all this gear was hard enough when we practiced at the pit hangar, but I can see it's going to be a lot harder in this cramped cockpit. Tim, I will send you a no prize.
I think. Well, I'm trying to remember if Alex was actually, because Alex was away for paternity leave. So maybe it was Ben Abernathy. I think Ben might be in trouble. So,
I think we get to play this, Tim. You had teed me up and we didn't play it. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but I think we can definitively press this button.
Error detected. Error detected. No prize incoming.
I'll just make
It's
my
official.
formal. Just make my informal. I'll send an email. I'll make my informal request here. I would love it if this gets fixed for the digital version and the paperback collection, and I assume there'll be a second hardcover collection with the next 12 issues. But Diana, thanks for showing up. It's always fun when you're here. That bit of dialogue at the bottom, where Lady Jaye said it was hard enough to get into this gear in the pit, and it's even harder now here in this cramped cockpit. That's a little of what I was missing. I don't want to pin this all on one word balloon or one page, but that's a little bit of what I was missing this issue. A little bit more of the color, the fun, the back and forth, and
my crap storytelling needs words. It needs words.
No. It's that. No, it's. Because when I got to panel 2, I thought one of the ships is moving away from another ship. And then in panel 3, I thought, okay, well, we have to be on the smaller ship because I see 2 heads, whereas the bigger ship only had 1 Joe astronaut on it. It's like, okay, I think they're splitting up, but I know I'm missing a detail here. Like, I'm out of fuel, I got to go home. Or Duke's radioing, there's an emergency at the pit. Right, Duke's gonna put on his Star Brigade costume and head on up in the. What's the other space shuttle, Mark? The one that came out by itself 2 years later.
You what? Are we talking about G.I. Joe or real life?
Yes, not the Defiant, the Crusader. That's it.
Right. Okay.
The re-release of the smaller part of the Defiant. Okay. Anyway.
So Diana says that she's looking at the final PDF proof and the letters are there. So it was there, and it's not Ben's fault. It's just, I guess, one of those unfortunate things. And to Squishy's point, fortunately, the page works without the dialogue. If it were my first time in space, I'd just sit in silent awe. So there we go. Maybe Diana, we can get to see the page as it was intended. Perhaps we can get a copy of that to post somewhere on the socials. That'd be fun. So where were we? We were in mid combat in space. Go on,
Diana. If you're not allowed to do that, that's totally okay. We'll kick it back to Skybound.
So we were in combat in space. It was a fun use of the characters and their specialist devices. So Lady Jaye, when she was released with its toy, had this sort of strange sort of javelin launcher speary thing. We sort of get that being used with some modicum of plot sense that I guess in space, just your standard automatic weapons firing, regular bullets aren't going to work. So having this sort of power javelin projector, which has got this nice tether attached to it, so she can kind of rein in and reuse her sort of arrow thing. And Sci-Fi's weapon of using a laser in space also makes perfect sense. So it's a nice way of sort of leaning into those sort of strange character, accessories, and it sort of being making perfect sense for the scenario.
Because a laser wouldn't have recoil, right? If Sci-Fi
and
fires
the projectile's not going to be influenced by gravity. I would have thought as well.
If sci-fi is using a machine gun, the equal force that pushes the bullets forward is going to push him backwards. Yeah, we haven't quite said it out loud, but I really appreciate that Hama is thinking this added step of the Joes need to engage in the MMUs. They can't do it on their own, even though I don't remember exactly what happened in issues 146, 147, and 148, but I'm pretty sure the Joes in that Star Brigade story, when they went to that asteroid, meteor, they were just in their like regular toy Star Brigade costumes and not in MMUs. But I appreciate the added level of realism here.
Those little rocket booster packs that they had to wear, they were kind of a pain in the butt to draw. They really were.
Because Paul, if I can sort of perhaps fill in a gap, it's not just that it's tech, it's that it's this big clunky thing that now diminishes the poses that your character can take. And also, if you like, as we see on this page right here, if you swing the camera behind someone, you're obstructing them, right? So it's just harder to stage everything for clarity.
There's nothing more exciting than the sitting pose, though. Come on.
This is not a Tim criticizes Francesco Segala's amazing coloring, but I've never thought, when I've imagined sci-fi's laser, I've never imagined that the laser blasts are yellow. And maybe someone can tell me in the comments, or maybe Mark knows. Sci-fi did show up in one or two issues back in like 86, 87, 88, right? Like an issue of Special Missions, an issue 60 something, I think. And I think he used his laser rifle once, and I don't expect continuity in 2026, 2 publishers later, to match the color of one character's very particular weapon who's only shown up once or twice before. That said, because Sci-Fi is such a weird G.I. Joe character, and his weapon is so different than almost every other Joe character, in my mind, his laser would emanate a color that is different than sort of all the other things. And in this issue, the revamped satellite is also firing yellow blasts. So this is not about clarity. This is not about like storytelling, and this is not about mistakes. This is just personal preference. I feel like Sci-Fi's laser blasts should be pink or red, and then the revamped satellite, they can be yellow.
Not green like his costume,
or maybe green like his costume. Yeah,
I thought lasers had to be blue or red, didn't they? Depending on if you're a goodie or a baddie.
Very good, very good, very good. I think you get a no prize.
Saying to the manufacturer, this gun is the laser color, what is it? Is it gonna be red? Is it gonna be blue? Well, who's using it, the goodie or the baddie? I'll program it.
And then we should talk about the ending, because there is this I liked it, and I want to concentrate on it for a moment. There's this very Larry Hama ending where on page 18, the blue ninja goes down with the ship. The blue ninja is incinerated in re-entry, and because it's 3 small panels, and because this is an issue where many things happen, and I think on this page we're sort of more worried about, I think we are more worried about Sci-Fi and Lady Jaye, saving him. And then the fun mechanics. Here's another very Larry Hama thing, right? I'm using my yaw jets to wind you around, Lady Jaye, right? Like I'm swinging my giant space shuttle so that you go in the correct direction, like not clockwise, but counterclockwise, to catch our friend who's going to die, right? Like, I think a lot of us have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, and when someone is doing a spacewalk and they become untethered, that's terrible news. So there's a lot happening on this page, but because there are 6 panels and like something has to get smaller because it's moving away from us, and there's the like mechanical, there's the there's the choreography challenge for Paul. It's like, how do you draw a spaceship whipping someone around, right? This page carries a great weight in storytelling. And so Paul's got to cram a bunch of stuff in here. This doesn't get to have 2 pages, right? The blue ninja shaking its fist as it goes down. Revenge will triumph in the end because we are one and you are doomed to die alone. Right? That doesn't get a splash page where we get a close-up of its like fist, its fist and its face, and it's scowling. So there's a lot happening on this page that I really like, but this like dramatic note that the Joes win and the bad guy, we get to feel good. God, I took out that blue ninja in really dramatic fashion. But then there's the turnaround because there's the final page reveal. So Mark, Paul, you have anything to say about this page, which I think is the most important of the whole issue, even though it's sort of the least sexy.
I had 2 thoughts before I'll hand over to Paul for his thoughts on the sequence, which was one, do we think that the Joes, this is something that Squishy says, do we think that the Joes can hear the blue ninja ranting in space? Obviously, hard to hear through the vacuum of space, although potentially we are in the upper atmosphere at this point.
But why would there be a sound effect in that 4th panel unless we're suspending the rules? Star Trek and Star Wars are less interesting if you can't hear in space. Please continue.
But he is a blue ninja android cyborg thing, so he does have technology at hand, and he has possibly hacked into like their Bluetooth speakers in their helmet, or their blue ninja speakers.
And if you look at the sound effect, he's on shrooms. So there you go.
Shroom.
He's powered
just
by
hallucinating
shrooms.
the whole thing.
Very good. Paul, I think you get a no prize. This is definitely my favorite sound effect so far in comics of 2026.
And then in this sequence, we're using like space physics to use the yaw jets to just bank the jet around and sort of corkscrew it and sort of swing sci-fi back around and rescue him, which is using space physics and that, but comparing that to kind of the earlier sequence on page 12, where you've got I guess the jet sort of ducking and weaving against laser blasts being shot at it, and acting a lot more like a Star Wars X-wing fighter jet in space compared to regular space physics. You've kind of got a bit of a balance of the kind of the more realistic and the more fantastical, which I guess serves a space story as making it more exciting rather than the 2001 things happening very, very slowly.
But on page 12, after this sort of more Star Wars ducking and weaving, the Blue Ninja explains it all, Mark. The Blue Ninja says, this pilot is very good. So I feel like these 1 or 2 panels of ducking and weaving is Hama sort of like, what's like, well, I only have 20 pages. I'm not going to make this a 3-page scene of like, I'm evading all the laser blasts, right? It just sort of happens in one panel. And we keep going.
And also jinking as well. Don't forget they did jink in the earlier sequence just in time.
I would actually like some help. What does that mean?
It's another way of weaving, I think. Ironically, the Joe's shuttle on the side of it is 101010. Oh, there we go, 1010.
Oh, that's right.
Which is how the Revanche talk to each other.
Yeah, and when they get destroyed, don't they sort of degenerate their speech down to binary code?
Paul, over to you. We did say that we'd give you an opportunity to talk about some of these space sequences.
Well, that one particular page, what was it, page 18?
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was actually a 3-panel sequence when the Blue Ninja is falling, with his fist raised. I think that might have been something I just added in because I like the idea of having 3 long, skinny panels. But I had to make sure that those last 2 panels were more of a widescreen because it's the only way it would have worked trying to get any sense of scale where the shuttle's turning around, slinging Lady Jaye. But yeah, it was. I mean, like you said, it's not sexy, but yeah, storytelling wise, I was really happy the way that page turned out. And that's the kind of stuff that I always enjoy seeing, that kind of stuff. You know, a big splashy shot is always, you know, can be fun, but little storytelling moments like that can be more satisfying sometimes.
You know, this might be one of those cases where I read an issue and I think, good. And then we talk about it for 2 hours. And then afterwards, I think, very good.
I think so. I think, you know, a lot of the time, particularly with ARAH, you sort of, you can read something quite quickly and superficially, and sort of really digging into the detail can, you know, really emphasize, you know, some of the thought and the effort that goes into making these things.
You can read it really quickly when the dialogue's not included on the page too. So,
and we should probably now talk about the final page, because that's the big surprise.
Are we able to? Do we get to call it a denouement? Does that work here?
Denouement.
Yeah, huh? That too.
I think. Yes, I think page 19 is the falling action, and so page 20 is that. So we get this surprise, Mark. What is it?
And it feels like very much one of that, you know, the Joes have thought that perhaps they've been a little bit more successful in their mission than they actually have, but there's a bigger scheme going along, and actually the real success of the story is in the antagonists, because it looks like most of this entire sort of thing has been a ruse from Alpha 001, that they've set up this satellite as a decoy for the Joes to destroy, whereas the real threat is coming from this cloaked Terradrome control satellite, which is still there and has been undetected. And so the integrated Terradrome network is in fact fully operational and totally undetected.
I want to do a quick comparison of the last panel on page 19, right, which is the second to last page, and the first panel on page 20, which is the final page, right? In the final panel on page 19, the Joe shuttle is heading home past raining space debris, right? Mm-hmm. And Payload has just had this moment where he says, you know, we're loyal to each other. And you think, yeah, good. And then you turn the page and the shuttle is now sort of far enough away, and we're looking past this glowing green thing that is similar to the space station we saw earlier in the issue. That was more of a cylinder. And this is more, I don't know, like triangular or more like classic UFO shaped. And, but it's got all these... Is Paul falling into old habits and having a Green Lantern projection of a spaceship? It's got all these antennae sticking out of it, so it agrees in that way. And so we take from this first panel that the Joes are far enough away and they're not looking back as this space station decloaks, right? So, you know, Hama is putting into the plot, and or Paul is drawing into the storytelling that we don't see the space station on the bottom of 19. We do see it, but yet still the space shuttle at the beginning of 20. And then 2 panels later, right, as Alpha 00.
Well, here's the thing. If you notice in the first 2 panels, there's the wavy lines around it. It was cloaked.
Yes,
and that's why it's
right. It is decloaking.
Exactly, right.
And then in that third panel, Beta 209, which is the Revanche operative on this decloaking space station, right? On that third panel, we're not looking at Alpha 001, but on the final panel, we are. Their faces are kind of similar, but Alpha 001 has cheekbones. And on that monitor behind Beta 209 in panel 3 is once again the Joe shuttle, and it's got that sort of arc in front of it, right? That heat. It is re-entering Earth's atmosphere. It is going in the opposite direction. It is not looking back. They can't see this thing decloaking. And so here's this small bit of business that's really important to making the story and storytelling work.
And I don't know that it's necessarily decloaking, or more that it's like an art shorthand to show us the viewer that it is there, rather than it actually decloaking.
Yes, thank you.
So we can see it, but if the Joes were to look out the window, they wouldn't.
Right.
Is how I read it.
It is right. Thank you. I was inventing a word that is not here in any of the dialogue. It is cloaked. We're just seeing it. We're seeing through its cloak because we're the readers, and we get to, just like we get to see sound effects in space, even though they probably wouldn't be there. Letters page. Anything?
Here's a question for Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get to design the space station? Did you have anything to work off?
Yeah, no, I think I just made it up. Something that was supposed to be a little more complicated than the original satellite, the one that got burnt up in the atmosphere. Same thing with the Beta. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, Larry was just talking about a more advanced version of a Blue Ninja, and that's why you see this guy's got 4 arms. He's got 2 sets of arms on each side. I try to keep it looking a little bit like Alpha, but enough of a difference that you can tell it's kind of an evolution of each of these, whatever you want to call them, androids or.
And I think we also got a slight variant design of the Blue Ninja sort of buried in the desert underneath the pit. I'm not sure if we've encountered this particular look before.
That was probably my favorite panel in the book, just drawing that one shot. I was really happy. I was really happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah. I do have an error detected on this page, which I forgot. In the first 2, you have to go to the color version, Mark. In the first 2 panels, this is nice. Paul and Anthony have drawn that background in each of the 2 panels. It's not like a copy and paste in Photoshop, which is also okay.
Because I'm stupid that way. So
and that water tower is subtle, but it is a different color in the second panel. Yeah. But I'll allow it. So it occurs to me a couple of things that every time I think that the Blue Ninjas are disappearing for a few pages or an issue or 2, Hama is very much interested in them being a main faction in this G.I. Joe story. So they're here to stay. And this satellite could be an important story element going forward. I don't think we're going to come back to space. I don't think there's a story where some Joe astronauts go to the space station and plant a bomb, although I would like to read that. It might just be that in the future, the Joes are on the ground and they're dealing with this network of terradromes that have popped up and are somehow linked, and they're Revanche terradromes. Although the Joes do have 2 giant missiles in the back of the Rolling Thunder, and I don't know if those missiles were described as going into space, but they're the biggest G.I. Joe missiles ever, and I feel like they could aim at that space station. Anyway,
I still say shipwreck in a space boat. I'll have to talk to Larry about it sometime.
You know what? Maybe what we can do, Paul, maybe that orange boat that shipwreck is in on that cover, maybe that could get chromed like the jet that you drew on the first page,
right?
Of this issue. We could call it the Skyfish, right? Because it's the Sky Patrol Devilfish, and it could go into space. Anyway,
Marvel introduced a character called, I think, Cosmic Ghost Rider, which was basically Ghost Rider with a sort of glass fishbowl helmet and a sort of flying space bike, something along those lines.
That is true. That might be a confusing comparison because the secret identity of that character is this fun, crazy other thing that doesn't relate to Ghost Rider, but we don't want to. We don't need to get into that at the end of our GI Joe podcast. But yes, you could take Shipwreck, put him in Cosmic Ghost Rider cosplay, put silver all over the Devilfish, and launch it into space. But what this does is that this sets up even more with this mystery of all these terradromes. And I'd forgotten, so I appreciated Duke reminding me on page 3 of this issue. Could there be a connection between this and all those terradromes that are popping up all over the world? Final thoughts? Should we talk about the letters page?
I don't know that there was anything in the letter page that popped out for me. Was there anything for you, Tim?
Once again, I wrote an amazing letter 3 months ago, and it's not showing up. And I feel like Ben and Alex are everyone write in.
It's with the dialogue balloons on that one page. It just didn't get in print. So
yeah, my issue 321 letter hasn't made its way in there yet either. So
well, that doesn't make me feel better, but that makes me feel. Alex does remind us at the end of the letters page that next issue is 325, which is a special anniversary issue, and but it has the regular price, so I don't think there are any extra pages. It's not a double-sized issue, an oversized issue. There's no pinups. It's just going to be a cool issue. And we will say goodbye to a cover artist and say welcome back to an interior artist.
And that comes out about a month after the release of this one. The mission continues February the 11th, 2026.
Why, that's the same day that another Larry Hama written comic book that I put together and edited and got placed at Boom Studios, The Center Holds issue 1. That's the same day that issue comes out. Folks, are you a Larry Hama fan? Do you want to go to a comic book store and buy 2 new Larry Hama comics on the same day? Then you should definitely go to your comic book store 3 days before Valentine's Day and buy both G.I. Joe 325 and also The Center Holds #1.
Buy 2 copies of each.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Give one to a friend. And if you don't have a friend, give one to a stranger and make one.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, did you have any final thoughts on this particular issue of stuff that you desperately wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
No, I think pretty much covered just about everything. Like I said, I think I had finished drawing it probably 4 months back. So it was kind of fun going back and trying to remember what was it like when I was drawing this stuff. So I guess as well we should remind people that you've got a website, Peleteier Art. Google it and you will find it. Last time I looked, and I must admit I didn't look immediately before this, the latest issues hadn't gone up, but maybe you can update us as to when if and when you put making the latest set of G.I. Joe art available. 324, there's still some pages up. I put them up about right after the book came out.
Okay.
I think there's probably still 10, 12 pages left from that issue. The previous issue I had posted it, but somebody had bought the entire issue, so that's why you hadn't seen it. So
congrats.
Yeah. There are a couple buyers that are always interested in possibly buying entire issues. Now, maybe that's because I don't charge enough for the pages. Who knows? But
Paul, would you say that this is a G.I. Joe phenomenon, or have you experienced that with other comics you've drawn?
More G.I. Joe phenomenon. And there's one particular buyer who is not only a G.I. Joe fan, but he's a fan of mine, a longtime fan of mine. So we put them together, and he's always interested in picking up artwork. So, but no, definitely the G.I. Joe fans. There've been a couple that were expressed interest in buying entire issues, which I won't argue against. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So thank you so much again for joining us and accompanying us on this journey through issue 324. Thank you so much for just being so generous with your time with us.
Well, it'll probably be a few months until 329 comes out, so that's my next one. So we'll look forward to it.
Maybe we'll talk in the summer.
Sounds good.
And Tim, where can you be found when you're not talking to me about G.I. Joe comics that you've made or talking with illustrious guests?
Atomic Abe, that's my YouTube channel. Hub Comics, that's my brick and mortar comic book store. And a realamericanbook.com, that's my blog.
Very good. Now, if you're new to Talking Joe, we can be found at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website that points to all the places we can be found. If you've not yet hit like and subscribe, do all of that good stuff and come on over and join the Facebook group and get involved in the discussion over there. We're also at Patreon, patreon.com/talkingjoe. So a big thanks to all of the members, Richard, Sam, Bill, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank, D, Shane V2. This one is wearing an oversized spacesuit. Infinite Entertainment, Gary, V, Patrick, Quoldroff, and B. They're getting early access to all sorts of things over at the Patreon site. But I think that is it for us. Starting as at time of us being live over on the Full Force channel will be Chris McLeod with his Full Force weekly roundup of G.I. Joe news. So hop on over there when we're done. But otherwise, there was something that I meant to say this episode that I think I've just forgotten. Tim, any clues as to what that might be?
Yes, I think what you wanted to tell everyone is that Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
That was it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Paul.
Laters.